Hello, rodeo fans. Welcome back to episode 27 of the Short Round Podcast, the official podcast of the Canadian Professional Rodeo Association. I'm your host, Wacey Anderson. Once again, pleased to be joined by my pal, Clay Creasy. Clay, it's been a hot minute since we got together, but it's been a busy time of year between the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals. I spent 11 days in Vegas, and now we're into the holidays now. We're officially settled in BC for the next couple weeks here, but it took us 17 hours to get through the Rogers Pass yesterday on the way from Calgary to Armstrong. So it was quite the day, but here we are and we're ready to rumble.
Yeah, the weather out there isn't super great. The buses didn't run this morning, and I
Man.
know, yeah, it's been winter for a bit here, even though we aren't officially into it. We've had a pretty nice fall, but yeah, winter is here,
Oh, it
and
came in like a beast, man.
it's
When we left for Vegas on the 1st of December and it was minus 20 when we flew out of Calgary and we dropped into Vegas. It was 20 degrees, so it was a 40-degree swing. For a couple weeks there, it was nice to not have to wear a winter jacket or winter boots, but yeah, it's winter's here and I guess now that the NFR is over, we're kind of in the dog days waiting for the Texas swing to fire back up and then obviously I guess we have an event with the New Year's Eve bull riding in Oyen we could talk about, but we'll talk about that a little later in the show. But yeah, it's been a crazy run, man, since a kind of short lull between CFR and then it was Maple Leaf Circuit Finals in Vegas and all a full sprint to the end of the year here, hey.
no doubt those two events. I mean, obviously one has a greater impact up here, but everybody that's a rodeo fan, you're wanting to check out what's happening at the NFR and seeing what's going on and it's just yeah, big things happening throughout that whole event and I mean
Mhm.
every round changes things so drastically and then again it's so very little of it was sorted out for sure by that last Saturday night that you were checking to see what was going to happen and I
Mhm.
mean literally half points and tenths of seconds were the difference between world titles and nothing and guys coming out of nowhere that ended up with titles, so it was an entertaining stretch there in Vegas for sure.
Yeah, and I think we'll jump into that here in a little bit, but let's jump back to the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals. I know we didn't get a chance to catch up after those finals were over, and that's my fault. I was on the road and busy and all the excuses in the world. But it was a great Maple Leaf Circuit Finals over there in Regina. There were some big moments happen, and for some, like really tease up their winter run and the early parts of the 2025 CPRA season, which can help some guys either win season leader titles as we've seen, and even just secure their spot for the CFR.
Absolutely. And there's a bit more of a gap with the CFR being this much earlier this year between those two events, but we saw a lot of contestants that just carried that momentum on. It's that difference of do you just start from fresh? This counts for 2025. What happened is in the past. Go all Lion King on that and remember to just look forward. Or do you say, you know what? I was actually pretty good back there. Let's just keep doing that. So, yeah, you see, again, starting with that bareback ride, and we've got
Hmm.
the champ carried that on. So,
Yeah, it wasn't surprising to see Cody pick up the momentum that he had left off with the CFR. He won the first night and then ultimately won the average over there in Regina and just made a bunch of solid rides. And I really think we'll see make Cody make a strong push, not only for another Canadian title in 2025, but also his first NFR berth. And we saw that he has the talent and the skills to do it. And I think and I guess like Cody's not a spring chicken by any means in the bareback rider kind of world, but I still feel like he's got a ton of gas left in the tank, and he has enough to hang with that new young crew of bareback riders we saw roll through Vegas a couple weeks ago.
no doubt. I think Cody again, and I compare it to my brother. They travel together over the years and things like that. A guy that has that ability to hang with those toughs down there, but just you get those bad strings of luck. But I'm hoping that this coming year, again, with this momentum coming out of the
Hmm.
CFR and this Maple Leaf Circuit Finals and just the way he's riding right now and just to get that mindset that we saw from our interviews and chatting with him during CFR. He is just dialed in
Hmm.
and I don't think there's anything too big for him right now and it's just a matter of staying healthy and things lining up and I think it's definitely I'm hoping to see him at the NFR next year.
Oh yeah, and even we go back to the interview I did with him here a few weeks ago or shortly after the CFR. He's got that mindset. He's kind of like kind of burst through that ceiling of those moments where it's when the push comes to shove, he's done getting shoved. He's doing the pushing now. So I think we'll see him deliver a bit more when it comes to on south of the line. I saw a video of him the other day, like he's already back in the gym, grinding hard. So look for big things out of Cody come 2025. In the steer wrestling, Landon Beersworth, the season leader from last year, he kicked off his year the right way, picking up the average win over at in Agribition there. It was awesome.
No doubt. I mean, talk about a guy that broke through that ceiling that he'd
Mm,
previously had kind of sitting over top of him before ever making a CFR, suddenly becoming a season leader and another momentum carrying through. I mean, had a good CFR and yeah, great finals there in Regina. I mean, 18 seconds on 4 steers. That's pretty tough out there, especially the end of the year with the kind of cattle person runs into and the field
hmm
you're dealing with there. So it's yeah, he's got that money at it, and he's just going to be giving her.
Yeah, I guess a special shout out or honorable mention to Curtis Cassidy, who had a great week down there. I know he's had his ups and downs the past couple of years, but he got back to the CFR in 2024, and he's looking to be back in 2025. And I expect a strong season out of Kurt here over the next summer, I guess we could say. I want to give myself a pat on the back. When it comes to team roping, I remember if you go way back to me and Clay teeing up the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals, I mentioned to watch out for Grady Quam and Brady Chappell because I don't think there's anybody who's won more rounds in that building in and average titles even at that point in Regina at the Brand Center than Brady Chappell and look who walked away with the average title at the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals down there than Grady Quam and Brady Chappell.
That team formation there from the CFR, I mean, they made some good runs there in Edmonton, and absolutely, I mean, those little buildings, you got to know the ins and outs of them, and that experience is definitely paying off for them, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they start thinking, I think we got something here.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out in 2024, 25. I guess be interesting. I guess it'd be interesting to see like putting bets down on teams heading into the season and see who ends up roping together at the CFR. But it'd be kind of an interesting thing to keep along given the shuffle that we saw last year. In the barrel racing, Blake Molly gets her season off to a great start, winning the average with 55.71 seconds over 4 rounds. And she's someone who narrowly missed the CFR last year who probably came into the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals being like, I need to make a move here just so I don't have to be hoping like a night that Armstrong. We talked about it pretty thoroughly at Armstrong, like that night when the ground wasn't as good as it was the rest of the week. You don't really want to be counting on those moments come September.
Absolutely. And I mean, she was a girl that despite not making the CFR was still rodeo and was competing at the college rodeos up here and kind of having a good run of things. So, just keep riding, keep working. I mean, she's a young competitor there that's not going to stop and yeah, we're not going to be holding her off come next year. That's this money in the bank is definitely going to make sure, like you say, it's not going to be left to the
Mhm.
last weekend and being close enough to the bubble for her.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the season shapes up for everybody. It's fun to have this kind of like pre-established narrative heading into 2025 as we have to wait around until spring now before anything happens up here. So it'd be cool to see where these people who did great at the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals pick up where they left off, or if they have to find their footing. But this will either be one of those things where you, again, like I said, hit the ground running, or it's going to cover your slump come April, May, June, whenever that may happen. Hopefully, it doesn't happen for any of them, but it's one of those things that'll help you kind of carry the weight there. Bobby Henderson had a very consistent week, made some fast runs, 10.5 seconds on 4 runs, which is pretty dang fast. But she's going to establish herself as a contender heading into 2025.
You bet. And I mean, she jumped out there in Pinoca in the barrel racing and had a great rodeo after not barrel racing for a while. She's
Yeah,
all around hand, just a top competitor, top horsewoman, and absolutely that rope in there was tough in the breakaway. I mean, it's tough everywhere. Gosh, that
yeah.
breakaway rope at the NFR was just
Oh
unreal.
man, it was cool. Hey,
But yeah, no, I expect her to just keep going. I think for her, I don't that CFR maybe wasn't as good for her and a few of them girls as they would have liked it. Hard to hard to get any of the pie when Macy was roping as tough as she was.
yeah.
But no, I think yeah, it's again another start and just a clean slate that suddenly, I mean, you're staring at a ton of money in the bank account for next year. So it's yeah, as tight as that field gets, money wise, anything before the actual 2025 calendar year starts is going to be bonus.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And talking about another guy who's consistent and fast and who is that who still, and even though he wasn't competing in Vegas, still made the news, giving thanks to his great horse Peso. Logan Bird puts down four great runs in Regina and picks up the average win there, and then sets himself up for another great season in 2025.
You just that's a setup there. I mean, he's just what do you say? I mean, Peso obviously has just worked so well. I wasn't actually sure if he was going to be riding Peso there or not, if he was
Mhm.
going to think to save him there. I know a couple years ago he used him at the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals, tried to bring him in for somebody, and they let him run him one round, but they've got all of their uh, quarantine requirements and everything, so he wasn't allowed. But I mean, knowing even after the way the NFR shook out and seeing that him and Kyle had used Peso at the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals after just kicking him out
Yeah.
after the CFR, like just let him go out, get fuzzy, and then bring him back and make all those runs and just work like a champ. And I mean, Logan, kudos to him just again for where he's got that horse to and what he does in this sport and for the sport of rodeo.
Oh yeah, and I think we'll get into it more. You have a fun stat when it kind of pertains to Maple Leaf Circuit Finals and the NFR, kind of how Peso's fall has went for him. But we'll talk about that more in a minute once we wrap up kind of the who are the champs. But we can't forget about Lucas Moxa. He dominated most of last season in the number one spot, and then he kind of picks up where he left off. And we had a pretty solid showing at the CFR. I think Lucas is one of those guys who's starting to learn, like I talk about it all the time, the how to win. Like you need to have those ups and downs and those big moments where you got to deliver, and some guy, and it takes for everybody, it takes some time to figure that out. And Lucas had a great finals, rode all four of his horses and dominated the average.
Absolutely. And ironically with a sick kid at home and having to throw together sub plans, the one social studies class I was teaching, I made them a little reflection where they had to kind of look at and search out somebody who's faced a challenge and how they've achieved what they ended up achieving in the face of that challenge. And absolutely, I mean, Lucas Moxa, I mean, when I was looking back through these notes when we were talking earlier about all the moments of the year, I mean, you just saw Lucas Zeke, Lucas Zeke, Lucas Zeke the whole way
Yeah.
through the year. So I mean, they just knocked it out of the park, and I thought he rode really well at the CFR. Things just didn't quite break the way he would have wanted, but similar story of either the good times are rolling and you keep them rolling, or shake it off, roll into the next place and pick up where you want to be at. So Lucas obviously did that in Regina.
And into the bull riding, we got young Chance Switzer, who's also, I will say, he's kind of in the same category as Brady Quam or Brady Chappell, I'm sorry. Won a lot of rounds in that building via the CCA finals and whatever. But Chance is a guy who knows how to win, knows how to ride, and he's really because he is another one of those kids who just missed out on the CFR last year. So he's really wanting to make a push, and this win will definitely help that cause in 2025.
Well, no doubt. I mean, anytime you can cover all four of your bulls, I mean, that's going to set you up for success. And I mean, carrying on that level of consistency, we won't be debating on whether or not he gets in there. It'll be how high in the standings he's going to finish next year. So I know from the sounds of it, I mean, obviously he's a bull rider, so there's injury
Mhm.
issues with any bull rider, no different than, I mean, who can honestly stay healthy in that sport? It's
Yeah, that's a
it's
grind.
very difficult,
Mhm.
but fought through some injuries in there, and yeah, that's a big thing there. I mean, sometimes 3 out of 3 a guy can get there, but 4 out of 4,
Not
they're not
easy.
just giving it to you.
Yeah, no, it's good, and I think just like summarizing the whole Maple Leaf Circuit Finals, let's tip our hats to the folks at Canadian Western Exhibition for hosting. I know that event keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. They broke an attendance record in 2024, and then the rodeo looked like it was well received and good competition, and I think that's a perfect place to house our Maple Leaf Circuit Finals. And I know Jillian and C5 crew worked really hard to put on a great show. And I listened to a few. Robert Schmidt did a great job announcing. I listened back when I was pulling some clips for that, and it was a great way to kind of put a cap on the 2024 and early and way to kick off 2025 for Canadian Pro Rodeo.
For sure. And it's just another feather in the cap of, again, the Association
Hmm.
of Regina. Everybody, all the stakeholders in an event like that coming together to make something great. I I know when I talked to Jillian to do the article about Virgil and the stock. Well, and I guess it was the stock contractor of the year one, and just C5 and Vern's push to just when he knows that it's something worth fighting for to do whatever it takes to make it work, and you're just seeing that momentum building,
Hmm.
kind of that dream coming together and everybody working together. So awesome event and just great for the contestants to have.
Yeah, it's a great and a great way, a great kind of way to get into the NFR Open. I know we saw what it did for Scott Gunther, and maybe we'll talk about a bit more about some of our top moments at the end of the year. But yeah, it's a great foot in the door to get there, and just a great way to end the season. And if there's anything that we may have missed, or you want to know more what happened at the finals, you can head to the CPRA website. All the news and results are up there, so just head there and check it out. But I think that'll bring us to the NFR, Clay. I don't think we really need to get too deep into the champions or like list them off. I know everybody's probably seen or heard of them by now, but um, let's kind of just walk through some of it. It was a great 10 days. What were some things maybe that stuck out to you, or maybe something that surprised you? And then maybe we'll talk some about the Team Canada and how everybody shaped up there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much of it that almost seems the same year to year that you can depend on. I mean, besides Butch Knowles, Jeff Metters, a phenomenal job, and
Oh,
I thought,
sorry to interrupt you. To
yeah,
talking about the Cowboy Channel broadcast team, the addition of Tim O'Connell to the bareback riding
I
was
was just
excellent.
gonna say
Oh,
that.
perfect. Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I
awesome.
thought Tim was incredible on there, and
Yeah.
over the years when because for the longest time it used to be Butch and Jeff and Joe and then Donnie Gay. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously Donnie's been there for ages, but I think bringing in Luke Branchino the many years that he's been in there, I've always really appreciated again that very analytical detail that a guy with his level of experience brings. And Tim O'Connell was just he was really good on there,
Oh
both
yeah.
well spoken and really knowledgeable. I mean, a multiple time world champion, but it doesn't always piece it together. But
Yeah.
uh,
It pays off like such huge dividends having somebody who knows that specific all the elements of that specific event. Like, Tim and Janie Johnson does a great job with the barrel racing when they added her in Texas, and she elevated that event on TV so much more. And then obviously what Joe Beaver does on the timed event side when it comes to team or steer us, I mean, sorry, team roping and tie down roping, and then obviously having Donnie Gay as your bull riding expert. Like having those experts is such a huge piece that just really elevates the viewing experience at home for everybody.
no doubt. And honestly, I mean, Janie Johnson could step in for Butch Knowles and do a better job than any of us. I mean,
Oh, she's
with,
so
with
good, man.
She is. And I mean, kudos to her and Katie Lucas,
Oh
two of
man.
the NFR, the two of them. I mean, you know that it's obviously not comfortable, but I
No.
mean, these two are such professionals and did an incredible job
Hmm.
with all the interviews and I mean, you can get sometimes where you see people in different sports where it's like they ask questions that the contestants are like, but with those two, you always know you're getting top of the line
Oh yeah.
commentary. And I mean, the contestants obviously they've won money to be there, but they're not just like, oh, let me out of here. So,
Yep. No, it was good. And yeah, hats off to the Cowboy Channel crew. They're putting on a great experience because you can either watch the broadcast or the integrated feed, but the broadcast feed, if you're watching at home, that's what you need to watch. It's so great the way they keep you informed and everything, and that crew just knocks it out of the park as they always do. Um, you kind of hinted at it at the top of the show, Clay. A lot of the titles came down to the very last day, and they're separated by dollars and cents, and they're really close. Who would you say was your biggest surprise walking out of Thomas and Mack on Saturday?
well, in the bareback riding, and I mean, I was super dedicated the beginning of the week and watching it and everything, and then kind of got behind on getting to actually watch all of the events unfold later on. So you lose track of it. I mean, money is changing so quick, but obviously that Dean Thompson right off the bat in the bareback ride, and that one kind of caught me out of the blue because
Hmm.
I mean, it really seemed like it was going to be a 2 or 3 man race between Keenan Hayes, Rocker Steiner, and suddenly that Bradley Miller who come on
Oh my
strong.
God, that kid's something
And
else, man.
but I mean, to look at the results and just see it was like you had those 3 guys at 88, and you had Dean Thompson gets an extra half point after getting a review that waived a miss out.
Oh.
Um, and so I mean that one was pretty crazy. And I saw Rocker's ride back. I didn't get to see all of those rides back on replay, but I mean good old Stevie Nicks really went to him, and I mean, when you say, "Oh, he only lost by half a point," you can kind of see in there where. And remember talking to Ward about how that horse has gone from that sweetheart to, you know what, you better have your hammer cocked. And I mean, Rocker was trying to leave it all out there, but it's always tough to see that at the end. But I mean, just yeah, the all around. I mean,
Oh
that.
man, heartbreaker for Coleman.
Oh, yeah, like Coleman Proctor, yeah, you could just see. I mean, and even with the last round miss to be $700 out of it. I mean,
Oh
after round nine, when there was three guys within $2,000, like there was just some pretty cool stuff going down there, and yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
It was
just
cool. It was cool to see Coleman's video the next day, kind of talking about that night and why he did what he did. Like, because he knew he had a chance to win both. He knew he had to be 3-4, and he went for it. And I mean, that either works out for you or it doesn't. It's kind of the way rodeo goes. And like again, hats off to Coleman, the way he carries himself and the way he's open and honest with his fan base and his family. There's not many people in the rodeo world who are like that.
yeah, he's quite a personality, and it's great to have people like that that are that open book for everybody to kind of see what the inside the sport is, and rodeo itself just kind of
Mhm.
lends itself to that anyways. I mean, you get to a lot of the professional sports, and it's really difficult. I mean, not that you can't always identify with people, but I
Mhm.
mean, the sport of rodeo, if you're a rodeo fan, generally you're somewhere along the lines of those, and just seeing, yeah, what their process is. I mean, how do you shake off that moment the next day? I mean, some people you might not see him again till Denver, but for a guy like him to just be like, you know what? I shot my shot, it didn't work. Now we go on.
Yeah, that's the way you got to approach it. That's how those high level people win and they continue to be champions. And it was cool to be part of like through my lens, I guess now. I feel like this was the best like covered NFR from outside of the main like the mainstream media of rodeo. Like PRCA was doing a bunch of really cool stuff, obviously having Teton Ridge and the Cowboy Channel doing their cool stuff. The work I was fortunate enough to do with Wrangler, like we were able to put some cool stuff out there. And just you got to see more of what the athletes were outside of the arena in past years that I had noticed. So that was a really cool part of it. Just seeing, I don't know, like you watch like the Rodeo Vegas clips of Logan Hay talk and Ben Anderson. They're talking about the
Oh,
eliminator pen and like bring the penalty. Like there's just so many great things there. I did the
well,
one.
and I mean, yeah, those two guys are going to put us out of business. There's just no way
Oh my
about it.
God, man. Those guys, yeah, those guys are
Oh
hilarious.
my
And
goodness.
we did the one piece with Wrangler where we asked people who they thought were gonna get the most fines and then the rocker came in and said not me. But it just so many of these fun things, getting to see the personalities
Yeah.
that you don't usually get to see was kind of a cool like theme around the NFR this year.
The one piece that I laughed the hardest at, I didn't see all of them, but the one where they asked all the calf ropers, which other competitor would you not let date your daughter? And it's like the number of people that said that Ty Harris, it was like, I don't know what his history is, but apparently it's well known.
Yeah, man. It was
I
cool
mean, yeah, there's
yeah,
that old
it's
saying, the calf ropers are so quick with their hands that you just got to watch out for him. So I don't know. He's pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so good, man. And yeah, it was cool. I think every world title, but obviously the bull riding, which wrapped up in round nine with Josh Frost, who very well deserved world champion there, came down to Saturday, and it's just cool to see. Like you look at Cassie Mowry's story, JD Struxness, who's kind of an adopted Canadian. I loved seeing him get the win, and then Tyler Wade, and Logan or Wesley
Wesley
Thorpe.
Thorpe,
Yeah,
yeah.
Wesley Thorpe get the win in the team roping. And then obviously Ryder Wright, Team Wrangler in the saddle bronc riding. That worked out well for my other part-time job I worked. That was a good deal and kind of everything just across the board. I think I missed or who was the world champion in the tie down roping? Riley Webb.
It was Riley Webb again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was owning things,
Oh
and
man.
just,
Crazy. Crazy.
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was
No, when we were
no, you're
talking
good.
about biggest surprises, I think the JD Struxness one was the other one that was kind
Hmm.
of, because I mean, it just seemed like Will Loomis just had it in the bag, right?
Yep.
And had been rolling with things, and yeah, but no, it's that's why you got to run all 10 and get on all 10.
That's the beauty of the way it works shakes out. Like 10 days and that average means so much. And if you're not getting the right steers or getting the right horses, you look like a guy like Dalton Massey just had a tough time throughout the whole deal, like from night number one. And that's been two NFRs in a row for him. And we really hope that he can find his gear there. And I think that's all it's going to take is get a round win early or put a good run down early for him because he was far and away the favorite to win this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he come out of the CFR, did well there, won the title, and you think, okay, well, last year was the learning year. This is going to be it, but they don't just give those world titles away.
No,
And
you can't stub
I
your
mean,
toe.
yeah, I put my name in on that Lakeland College NFR pool, and I was thinking, gosh, there's a lot of value in Tyler Wagasback, and he didn't have the finals he's used to. So it's just
Mhm.
you just never know. I mean, that first night, a couple of guys go out the first night in the Bulldog, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this that escalated quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's funny how we talk about momentum so often, and even like for some people getting that good start means so much. They look at Haley Kinsel, even Zeke winning the first two out of the first three rounds, and Haley won the first three rounds, and after that they kind of cooled off quite a bit. Like that was I was really surprised with Zeke. I wasn't sure if I'm not sure if he's hurt or just was we talk about the draw a lot, but just wasn't the same, didn't have the same kind of killer. I don't know if it was killer mentality. I don't think that ever leaves him, but just didn't have that same finish that he had in the past couple of years in Vegas.
No, I totally get what you're saying, and I mean, after night three, I was just like, this is done.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Like, pack it up, call it a night. And then, I mean, the eliminator pin, I didn't think like they had really eliminated him bad, but it seemed like, yeah, after that, he was just kind of fighting it in a way that we're just not used to seeing from Zeke. And I had the same thoughts if he's fighting something. I mean, he'd never use it as an excuse,
No.
anything like that. He's gonna keep trying and everything. But yeah, it just kind of, because I mean, Ryder Wright had missed a horse out early, and suddenly it seemed like, well, poof, he's gone. And I mean, yeah, after that third round, he was $2,000 behind Damien and everything like that. And so you're just like, well, who's gonna stop him? But he
Yep.
just,
And
yeah,
and and
just
he'd won the past two average titles along with his world championships. Like you just that just seemed like it was just like I was ready to put his name on the buckle. But
yeah.
that's again, we talked about the 10 days and you can't yeah, who knows, it's an injury or just whatever. You just can't afford to stub your toe at any given moment. Because even look, I guess you talk about keep sticking with the saddle mark round before we go back to Haley. Ryder Wright, he misses his horse out, gets out of the average, but he still found a way to win the world title. Just by
Well,
pure
and I
making big
mean,
rides.
having the experience of winning two of them before, I mean, he's over the last few years kind of similar to how Zeke's finals went. He's had a few of those finals in a row where it was suddenly, I mean, you kind of forget about how dominant he was when he was
Hmm.
winning those world titles, and how when he burst onto the scene and everything like that, it just kind of got pushed to the back of things. But yeah, I mean, again, that whole bronc riding field is great.
It's so
You know, I
tough.
yeah, I thought Ben, I mean, he rode
Oh,
outstanding all week, but
yeah, they.
I mean, he was just riding the hoppers. Like, it
I
just seemed like, well,
know.
and he just made everything look like a hopper. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, Miss Valley, Zeke wins around on her early, and then Ben gets her the next go, and just, yeah, he made her look too easy. I mean, he
dude,
just,
that was the most aggressive I've seen Ben set his feet in a long time, and he looked awesome. It's too bad he couldn't get that big score, but yeah, he like you said, he was riding outstanding.
oh, for sure. And I mean, all of them were.
Mhm.
Dawson had incredible finals. I mean, yeah, you had Dawson third, Zeke fourth, Colby fifth, and Ben sixth in the average. Like, that's, yeah, I mean, when you're in there like that, you obviously haven't had a bad week. And I mean,
Mhm.
Dawson got himself some go around money for sure, and everything like that. But just, yeah, it was, I mean, those guys all rode well. I mean, Logan rode great to that
Yeah.
that last night. Ugh, that call is.
What do you think? What do you think? That was that was kind of my next theme is the controversies from the NFR. So let's start with Logan. What do you think?
And I mean, I reached out to him here the other day just because there was the debate. Was it a no score because of the swells, or was it the horn? Because there was a lot of people that said, well, you mean there was like two horns almost and things. But Logan said it was, the judge did say it was because of grabbing his swells. And I'd asked him, was it the same judge as Salt Lake City where they had called him for that? And he said it was. But Logan, more than willing to admit, Salt Lake City, he deserved it. Here, I think it was pretty suspect again, round 10, and to take a go round splitting score off the board, that's I've never heard it before. I've never
No.
seen that before. And it was a big call. That's a hard one because again, we just bring in video replay and then that's you find out the limits,
Yeah.
right? You find out what you're allowed to review and what you're not. And I mean, every angle that shows that horse when he's just turning out, his free arms way out of the blue. And
Ah, it's
so
so
it's
tough,
just,
man. It's like in the NHL with the offside panel, like the
oh
offside
yeah.
calling back and the goaltender interference. There can't be any gray areas with it. It has to be black and white. And it's too bad when you have those shots of it black and white and they don't get it right. Like it's so disappointing, especially for and different in hockey because those guys are guaranteed the paychecks. But in rodeo, like that, man, that was a difference between 30,000 and nothing for Logan.
Yeah, and I was meaning to look and see where he would have fallen in the average had he gotten that score.
Hmm.
I meant to check that out, but just never got there. But yeah, I mean, it's just 30,000 in the go round, but I mean, obviously he had a pretty good week the
Hmm.
rest of the time. So what did that take him off? I mean, his post about now my dog doesn't get a Christmas present. Thanks a lot, Judge.
Oh, that was
I
gold.
mean,
I was
you,
gold.
yeah, Logan's in good spirits. And I was looking back at the this the one thing that when I talked about Wildwood leading up to that, or I guess after when he had they were doing like previews and asking, is this going to be the year Zeke Thurston wins his fourth? And he says, I doubt it on the comments. And so Logan, I mean, he's always
Oh man.
for some great stuff out there, and he's just going to keep it going next year. I mean,
Oh
those
man.
guys,
Yeah.
they're another crew that I think, yeah, they'll get things knocked out this winter, and they won't be coming in 14th, 15th, and it'll be a good NFR again next year with all those guys.
Oh, it'll be good. And it'd be interesting to see who else gets herself into the fold. I know that Leighton Green will probably be wanting to get back, and Q Taylor's a guy who can go. Dawson Dom is a guy who's knocking on the door. It's just endless list of Canadians in the saddle bronc riding, and a guy like moving to the bull riding. You got Jake Gardner who can go. There's so many. It'll be great to see where things shake out for next year. But I think just wrapping up for the Canadian side at the NFR, the unofficial total, thanks to our dear friend Barb Paulson, $457,648 for Team Canada, led by Zeke Thurston at just shy of 140K. Then if you throw in the four-legged athlete, where I think we should go next, Clay, is Peso bringing in 200 over 270,000. So that's a pretty solid week for our Canadian crew up down in Vegas over the 10 days.
Absolutely. I mean, Peso, yeah, that horse just and the one thing I remember about his first NFR, because it was a preemptive
Hmm.
decision based on the fact that unfortunately they had lost TJ and everything. So it was really not in the plans for that to be his first NFR. But I can remember, I mean, they had to switch off of him there. Like he just, I mean, that's a huge moment for anybody. And
Hmm.
and horses, contestants, everything. And he would just didn't quite finish the way they would have maybe wanted. But I mean, you see Logan has gotten him now to where, I mean, he's unflappable.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that horse is just, and I mean, he's only 13. It was kind of neat to see. I saw that Cole Young, the former or bull rider there, was the
Hmm.
one that actually started him.
Yeah.
And see that kind of end of things, and just goes to show that, I mean, horses, and I've always been a firm believer in that if you're not using a horse the right way, you should try and do good on by that horse, and find somebody that will. Even if that horse isn't necessarily a perfect horse, there
Hmm.
is a person out there that is more suited to him. And that's just a prime example. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it just goes to show that
Hmm.
with the right set of hands, you can just turn anything with a bit of talent and try in it into something.
Oh, and like Peso like stood out on the pack on those horses. Like you could like just the way he works the rope, and obviously he's a little bit his color he looks nice, but like that horse is something else. And to win $270,000 with three different jockeys, I guess we can call them, or three different cowboys on them, like that's got to be like close to a record for one horse.
Well, and I look back over it, and they had made 21 runs on him, and they placed in 12.
Wow.
So, because and all three of the guys, because Josh or Joel Harris rode them all 10 rounds and placed in six. Ty rode him in nine, placed in five, and then and Tough split second in that round nine with Ty. So I mean they were 1-2-2
Yeah.
in that ninth round. Like it really brought it all to him. And I mean the biggest thing that uh, Logan talks about with that horse is his speed, and that's absolutely critical. I mean, you don't have to worry about trying to break out in that place
Mhm,
because
mhm.
you're still going to gather those calves up and set up your runs. But again, finding that balance with calf horses of getting them to where okay, they've got the run, but they got to work the rope, they got to stop. I mean, piecing it all together. I mean, that horse is just yeah,
Yeah,
and
something else,
just
something else. Yeah, so hats off to the Bird family. I know and there was another stat you texted me about how Logan and Kyle Lucas rode him at the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals and ended up 1-2
yeah,
there. It just like that
yeah.
horse just like honest as day is long, consistent everywhere you take him and he'll put you in the money if you do your job. It's an amazing animal.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, it was, yeah. Logan placed in all four calves at the Maple Leaf Circuit Finals. Kyle won 2 rounds. They
Mhm.
got first and second in the average. So, I mean, placed on 6 out of 8 calves and yeah, just carried that on. And after, like I said, sitting, just developing a winter coat,
Yeah, it's
just so
crazy, man.
it was
Yeah,
just
so
ready and fuzzy. But the other one I was going to mention, and I kind of had known about this going into the NFR, but Scotty Gunther after the CFR had
Scotty,
made the
yeah.
switch to Eddie
Hmm.
and had flown down to California there because Tanner had the team Eddie and Stump down there when they were breaking in the steers for the NFR. So I mean that was the first time Scott had gotten to ride him. And that first night, uh, obviously he got a no time. You probably saw it when Tanner went
Yeah,
one
yeah.
way and Stump went the other, and
Yep, yep.
you kind of wonder, oh, how's this going to go? But I was thinking about this the other day for Scotty. I mean, that last NFR that he had qualified for, at that point he kind of thought, well, this is going to be it. But at the same time, his wife Becky was expecting. She had her baby the day after the NFR last time, and Scotty didn't make it back.
Yep.
It just didn't quite have the finals he would have liked to have, and probably up until August didn't really expect to ever get a chance to redeem that.
Hmm.
And so I just think, I mean, yeah, it didn't start great, but I mean, he made some really good runs there. I think he's
Oh
got to
yeah.
be pretty happy with how the week all shook out by the end of it. Because, I mean, yeah, that's going to buy a few Herefords when he gets home if he wants.
Yeah,
But
wins just about 100,000, 97,000, whatever it ends up being. And yeah, great week for Scott. He kind of found his stride and getting that go around buckle to kind of cap off what could be his last NFR. Who never knows that guy, he might win enough to make it back again, just rodeoing in Canada with how much money we got up here. But
yeah,
pretty cool way
yeah,
to kind of right finish that narrative for Scott. And like you say, bouncing back after not such a great one after his last NFR.
yeah. And I think like that piece that they did on Scotty during CFR, I mean, he's got a great family behind him that's still willing to help him get down the road and rodeo when he wants to, but at the same time, that he doesn't want to leave him all the time to go do that anymore. Like he's at that stage where yeah, he sees how important it is to be home with the three
Mhm.
boys now, with the farm, with everything, and I mean Skinner's only going to keep barking at him for so long. So
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Um, we can't forget about the four-legged bucking athletes down in Vegas. They want to go down on Virgil again. Surprise, surprise. Huge 91 points. It was Jacob Lees made a great ride on the big gray. Um, Kessler's bulls, both Devil's Advocate and Chester had great outs when they were bucked. True Grit, they went around True Grit, one of Wayne Bulls, great horses, and Nance had a few bulls out. I can't remember. I think it was just Haunted Hotel, and then
yeah,
Mox's. They had Steely Dan, Stevie Nicks. Who was the other saddle run course they had?
Falkland Playboy, that
Falkland
that
Playboy.
Appaloosa he is a handful, like an
Yeah.
old throwback. Like that's yeah, no, the buck and stock was really good. I mean, Virgil ended up, yeah, he ended up horse to the bareback riding of the NFR. Disco Party, they didn't actually make any money on her, but she did well enough to end up splitting second,
Oh,
which was a
nice.
big surprise. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
were 91 both trips on Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yet Disco Party and Gunfire kept Nightcrawler out of the top three. So I mean, kudos to them, the Bronx. I was doing the round by round totals, and I was thinking the bareback riding horses, even though there was way less of them, had blown them out of the water, but missed a couple totals, and I mean, it was neck and neck. And bull riding, they didn't make a lot of money on the bulls because bulls bucked them all off. They
Yeah.
only rode two of the bulls out of 12 trips, and yeah, I mean, Josh Frost had that chance in round 10. You knew the Kesslers were hoping he's going to be 95.
Yeah.
He's hoping to be that, but Chester's just keeps on plugging away. And,
Yeah,
you
it'll
know,
be interesting to see it once they get him snapped how that goes, and they like Blue Magic had a good trip when he was out. There's
yeah,
so much.
yeah.
So I apologize for any one of them that I missed, but it was cool to see the Canadian bucking stock also show up and show out. And before we finish up the NFR, this totally just hit me just now. The national finals breakaway roping happened. We touched on it earlier, but Shelby Boisley Medjed and Kendall Pearson both showed up. Shelby, maybe not the result she was hoping for, had a couple rounds where she didn't perform, where she probably would tell you that she would like to be, but she won some money, ended up, I think it was third in the world at the end of it. And then Kendall moved a couple places to 10th or 11th, or I can't remember where Kendall, I'd have to pull it up. I apologize. I don't have my
Mhm, mhm.
homework in front of me, but they both had great finals, won some money, and congrats to Kelsey Dahmer, the 2024 national finals breakaway roping champion.
No doubt. And like you said, Shelby may have had a couple of moments where it didn't go the way she wanted, but I mean, until they did the final tabulation, she was still in there.
Still in the mix. Yeah.
It was a close thing. I had turned it on just for that last round actually, and got to see it, and you're like, holy, like this is, I mean, where does it shake out when you don't necessarily know what the average pays and where everybody stands there? And I mean, for Kendall, I mean, I think she wrote good too. Both of them
Mhm.
did, but I mean, shoot, you had to be 2 seconds to catch any money.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
every
couldn't
round.
believe it. I couldn't believe it. You had
Yeah.
2 seconds, like didn't
Yeah.
catch money in
Yeah.
some of the rounds. Like, it was
Yeah,
insane.
it was really tough. That I can't remember which girl it was that was in first in the average after the first day because they run 5 rounds a day. But I think she was faster on five, or yeah, like it was. Oh, I can't remember what it was. It was like 9 sec, like it was something ridiculous,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like just to be that
It was
fast on
it, it was the Gallo came in, didn't she come in like 14th or something, or 13th, and she was her
yeah,
first one, and she won a couple of rounds.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember her
yeah,
name. I don't have it in front of me.
yeah,
I
yeah.
apologize. But yeah, it was awesome to watch. And again, I think to wrap up the NFR, I went to I watched the first 11 or 10, or I mean the first 6 or 7 rounds from front to back, and I was in the arena for one of them, and we were there for like sitting in the stands watching for the other two. It is time for the PRCA and the NFR to find a way to get breakaway in there. I know an easy way to do that is cut out your opening act. I know how it's great when you have somebody good, but I've seen a couple bad ones in there, and that adds absolutely no value to your show. And if you were just to have your anthem and your flag intro, jam the breakaway in where your opening act is, it really doesn't add that much more time to your whole show. It is time to bring the breakaway opening to Thomas and Mack. It would blow up in there.
Oh, there's no doubt. It is. It's great to see. I mean, the news here just recently that Panoka is bringing it forward here,
Mhm.
so that I mean that's going to just be a game changer for the girls up here and for everybody in the world standings. I mean, you're going to see some breakaway rope in there. I mean, watching that breakaway rope in Pendleton's good, and so that's you get a sense of what it'll be like and
Mhm.
everything. And yeah, I mean they put on a show and they do deserve it. It will happen. I hope it's sooner than later, but
Mhm.
yeah, they've got to figure out a way to make that happen. And I just the one thing I laughed about I saw the other day was they asked Shelby, it's like what's something somebody said that they meant it as being nice, but it was really disrespectful. And she said, somebody walked by me. It was like, when you turn around that third barrel, I'm gonna be cheering for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
I thought that was pretty good, but
Oh yeah. But
yeah.
yeah, no, it'll be it's a matter of time, and I think like obviously the popularity of the breakaway is going to help move it along. I think the competition level is going to help move it along, but I also think a kind of a sneaky variable that might like influence them trying to get it into Thomas and Mack is how popular the barrel racing was with the crowd in this week. Like when you listen to the crowd, if you were in the building or whatever, the barrel racing was the loudest event in the building. And I think if you bring another fast event with with high level competitors, it's only going to get louder. So I think that's the sneaky piece to the puzzle.
Well, and I mean, during the CFR, I would say those were the two loudest events also.
Yeah,
They were
100%.
well received there, and I mean, fans were just in it and involved. So, no, I think there's definitely a place. I mean, you're not going to be boring people by having it in there. You're be bringing in new fans, and it you just the amount of people that you are bringing to the sport and competing in it. I mean, it's a whole other dimension of women that are able to compete and earn their piece of the prize and all the winning. So it's no, I hope to see it keep going like it is.
Yeah, me too. And I think it'll be just a matter of time. And I hope that I get to be in the arena for the first time they run a breakaway calf at the Thomas and Mack, and it was good. So hats off to everybody at the NFR. It was really cool, and I think everybody's having some withdrawals. So hopefully this helps fill that void a little bit before Christmas. Clay, so I won't get together before the end of the year. So let's kind of talk about kind of 2024, some of our favorite moments and what's sticking out, and maybe what you're looking forward to in 2025.
Yeah, I would say again, we talked about it here before. Zeke on Virgil getting to be there was cool. I mean, right behind the chutes, just seeing that all the pump up. I mean, all the production they had with that event, and it just, I mean, not it's not scripted by any means, but you couldn't have scripted it better. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that moment was great. I mean, between Cody Lamb and Macy Eclair at the CFR, I mean, those two were just so on it every night. I mean, the one thing that I forgot when we were trying to make that list, William Barrows. I mean, just to
Mm.
see somebody come from that place and just to see where it went from Wednesday, where he didn't take that re-ride, to Saturday night where he's the champion. I mean, that's another one of those you couldn't have scripted it better type of things. I got to look back for my list to see what I had, what else I
Well,
had.
it was just a great year overall. I know I kind of
Yeah.
had on my list. I had like the kind of the obvious one of the CFR making its way back to Edmonton for the 50th year. I think it was such a refreshing experience. It was a cool experience. Obviously, all the moments that it's not scripted, but you couldn't have wrote them any better. Records broken, new fans coming in, being in a big center, and it kind of I mentioned this before, but it kind of had that Vegas feeling after spending 11 days in Vegas a couple weeks ago. You can definitely feel that the CFR has a lot of room to grow, and yeah, there was just so many great moments. Like we had Shea Beaver break her record twice, and then Macy Leclerc eventually broke her record at the CFR, and then Haven Meged going 6.8 seconds in the tie down rope in, and obviously Cody and Virgil was the moment. That's my top moment, I would say, at the end of that line, just because you couldn't have had all the variables that needed to fall into place for that fell into place, and it delivered, and it was just a great way to I don't know to put a stamp on Cody's first ever championship.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, having him on our podcast that morning when he was talking about it, and you were like, yeah, this
Yeah.
is going to be awesome. Like
Yeah.
now I mean, obviously we were pumped about that draw before, but after that, you're like, this is going to be spectacular. Like there's just no way around it. It's going to be fantastic. And yeah, the other things I had were Scotty Gunsner, obviously
Mhm.
that win in the NFR Open, and just really how that set the wheel in motion. Because the year before, winning Calgary didn't help as much as winning the NFR Open,
True.
because Calgary only counts a percentage of that 50,000
Mhm.
and everything like that. And as we were talking, that redemption uh, go to get there and do that. And the last one was Cole Ashbacker. I mean,
Ah, yeah.
EFR that last weekend, the last day of the last weekend, uh, out there in Langley, making a big ride on a hard to ride horse. That yeah, just I mean, having lost his mom there not long before that from her fight, and just saying, you know what, mom, I I don't know if this is how I would have liked it, but I know you were watching and helping. So those were some big moments for the year for sure.
That was a great year. And Denny Phipps sent us over some stats where the CPRA in 2024 paid out. Oh, I don't have it right in front of me. I have it right here now. This Pro Rodeo paid out $7.4 million and had over 19,000 entries across the board in 2024. So that's huge. It's our biggest year yet on the Pro Rodeo Canada side of things, and it's only going to grow from here with more events being added and money being increased, and 2025 shaping up to be a great year. And last thing, Clay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me a bold. I want to because I want to come back to this if we can later next year, but give me one bold prediction for 2025.
Ooh, yeah, this is on the spot. I'm gonna go out there and say Kyle Lucas is either a Canadian champ or an NFR qualifier, or both.
Ooh, or both. Might have to do both. I know like the CFR doesn't count towards the NFR, but might have to do both to get the or do one to get both. If that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense. Might have to winning the Canadian title might help him get the NFR is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I'm putting myself in a blender here.
How about
Anyways,
you? What's yours?
I'm gonna say Zeke Thurston will not win will not win what would be his fifth consecutive saddle bronc riding title. This is no slight to Zeke. I don't want him to be mad at me. He's my good friend, and I really hope that he wins a fifth in a row. But I have a feeling that some of these young guys, like the Lucas Moxes and the Ben Andersons and the Logan Hayes of the world, are going to have something to say about it this year.
See, I don't even think that's that bold,
What?
but
It
I
is
think
what the
you just shot
bowl.
yourself in the foot because,
Now
yeah,
now he's gonna be pissed off at
I'm
me
gonna
when he's
make sure he hears this.
yeah,
Yeah,
shit.
he's coming for you and
Dang.
everyone else. So now the
Uh
Bronc Rider's mad at you. Good job.
Dang. Oh, dang. I'd say that's pretty bold because he's pretty much like I would say he's a shoot. But then if I say that, yeah, I kind of shot myself in the foot. I'm sorry, Bronc Riders. I don't you guys are my favorite, but dang, what should I say? Oh, okay. What if I said this? I change. I take it back. So all of our major events, I want to say because I want to see the final stand because this might be I might be crazy on this, but okay. So let me look. I shall look at something here quick. Okay. Here's my bold take. Every Canadian champion from all the major events will win over $70,000 in 2025.
Fair
So
enough. Fair enough.
that's
Yeah.
pretty bold, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, wait a second. I should say more. I'm saying more. I'm gonna say over 80,000.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's more broad. That's not just focused on one person not doing something. So that's
Man,
better.
come on. Damn it, I'm
You
sick of it.
can't
I'm
cut this
bad at
out
bold
now.
prediction. I know I'll
Uh,
leave it in. I'll leave it in. I'll leave it in. I'm probably gonna get shit for this from
uh,
people, but that's okay. Clay, thank you so much for jumping on on this with me this year. It's been so fun
bet.
to tell some stories, catch up, and keep everybody on the pulse of what's happening in Canadian rodeo. And I'm really excited for what next year has in store for us, sorry. And we'll be picking it back up come January with some exciting guests and some rodeo action. And yeah, hope you have a great Christmas, buddy.
You bet. I wanted to mention one thing, and this goes back to an episode we had. So I had World Series of Team Rope and Mark down here because
Oh,
Jeremy Bueller had a good showing. I think it wasn't in the open, it was in like the 14.5
mhm.
at the World Series with Rocky Dallin.
Okay.
Now, Jeremy was heading, which
He's a world
I
champion healer.
yes. So I go back to when we were looking at things and we were talking about how when Jeremy went looking for a header, no offense to every header in Canada, but
Oh, now you're the one shooting
Jeremy's
yourself
looking
with
if but I said
I
back
know.
then, I said, no matter who you're roping with,
Yeah.
if Jeremy is or I guess it was any healer. I said if Jeremy walked up to any header and said, "Hey, would you spin him for me instead of that guy?" They would almost do that. This goes to show that even heroes have their heroes, and it's like, sure, Rocky, I will go to the other side of this and he head for you because. I mean, what does Rocky have that Jeremy and nobody else in the world has? He has a gold medal for healing. So I just thought that was cool. It's like, yeah, no, I remember I think I was shoveling snow because that's just been what my life has been lately. But after I saw that, I was like,
Oh
what does
man.
what could force somebody who is the great what many consider to be the greatest Canadian healer to go to the other side? Besides the fact that obviously he wouldn't have got into that roping because he's like a 13 healer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was a cool one.
Oh, that's cool, man. It's a great way to kind of put a stamp on the show. And like I said, we hope that everybody, all of our listeners, thanks for tuning in this year. It's been fun, been exciting, and we wish you all a happy Christmas and a happy New Year, and we'll catch up with y'all. Yeah, in 2025. And I guess if you want to stay in touch or stay on top of what's happening in Pro Rodeo Canada, always our website's always updated at rodeocanada.com. Our social media will be buzzing here over the next few weeks. We'll be counting down some of our favorite moments. And now I'm rambling, but that's going to do it for episode 27 of the short round. Thanks for listening, and we will see you all next year.